Did you grow up in Nashville?
No, I grew up in a really small town in Mississippi called Water Valley, which is, I don't know if you're familiar at all with Mississippi, but Oxford is where the University of Mississippi is. I did not go to school at Ole Miss. We'll get that on the record. I went to Mississippi State, but yeah, that's where I grew up, right outside of Oxford.
Were your parents together the entire time?
My parents were together and still are together. Probably, they're 60 plus years of marriage now. And they're still married, and all of my family's still there except for me. Yeah. I think I have an uncle and some cousins in Texas, but family, I'm not very close to my family. So it's, that's part of this whole dynamic with this book and getting my story out, because I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only one. So yeah, man, I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate you coming out from Nashville, Tennessee.
Live in Nashville right now. I've been living there for about 12 years. My daughters have grown up there, so it's home.
That's great.
And two of them are out of college, and one is about to be a sophomore in high school. They're thriving. Their mother's doing well. She's dating a really good guy, so things are good, man.
12 years ago, could you imagine going through a divorce and then saying the boyfriend is a good guy?
No, not at all, man. And I tell you, I living in Mississippi, I was driving.
It's sober behavior.
Don't quit before the miracles happen, right? I thought I was moving to Nashville. I was commuting back and forth every week, writing songs, and was still touring some then and playing shows. And it just came time to move my family up there. I thought I was moving up there to be closer to the music business every day, because I was about ready to come off the road at that time. But I really moved to Nashville to get sober and get divorced. I can look back and see that now, because had those two things transpired in Mississippi under the watchful eyes of that really small town and my family, it would have been disastrous. I just believe that with all my heart. So God put me in Nashville to get me sober and get me divorced and get me on the right track around people who could help me do it with love in their hearts. And I've still got the same sponsor I've had since day one.
Wow.
And he's the perfect guy for me. And I've sponsored so many people and still do. I think I've got 3 sponsees now, but I've started a life coaching business within the last month, and just got all those certifications done and kind of branching out now away from the 12-step, recovery support stuff to helping guys who are going through divorces, guys who've had unfaithful spouses. And then also I had a 30-year career in the corporate world, in the food business. So got some things going on with some younger guys coming up in that world, and just doing some mentor stuff and just trying to coach them along, because they've got young kids like you. And I learned a lot of things not to do as a dad in the corporate environment, and just trying to share it, man. Just trying to help these kids have a chance.
Yeah.
To stay married, number one, but but to bring up kids like they're supposed to be brought up, and that's with unconditional love and support. So,
what's the number one mistake that you share with people you're coaching about raising kids? A mistake that you made that you
in regards to my business life?
Yep.
Time. I was on the road a lot. Especially when my older two, they're 4 years apart in age, and when they were younger, I was on the road a lot, and just that absence, and then obviously being in full blown alcoholism and drug addiction, I would come home and I would be present a lot of times, or be there a lot of times, but not be present, and I was around a lot more. Like I had this in my mind, how we get in the book calls it our magic magnifying minds. I had in my mind post-divorce, when I was going through the grieving process, that, I just wasn't there. But I've watched all of the home videos now more than once from all of those years, and I was physically there a lot more than I remembered. But, man, when you're putting the poison down the gullet, you're just not present.
Yeah.
And so I what I really do with these young guys in the corporate world is I got 2 guys right now, and they both have 30-minute drives home from their offices in the afternoons. And so one of them calls me for 15 minutes, and the other one calls me for 15 minutes, and they give me their work day and all the crap that goes with that, so that when they get home, they don't have to put that on their wives.
Yeah.
And they don't have to put that on their kids. And I watched my father do that to my mother. As far as I know, he probably still does it because he still works, but he's in his 80s and he loves to work. So, but yeah, I remember she had to be ready to go at 5:15 every day to dinner, and then he just I don't want to say consciously did it, but he just unloaded his entire day onto her. And then when she couldn't go, me or one of my brothers would get picked to take that ride to dinner, and we would get that. And I just remember going, man, this is awful, because he was also in the food business, but he was also a politician in the state of Mississippi. He was the mayor of the little town we were from for over 30 years, I think it was. So he had a lot going on in his professional life and was not present for a lot of things. It's that whole cats in the cradle syndrome that gets passed down, from generation to generation. And yeah, man, time is everything to kids. Yeah. And so that's probably my biggest regret, because you can't get that back. No. And, I don't beat myself up about it anymore. The more years I'm sober, the more years I've worked the program, my faith in Christ and in the Bible, the more I study that and learn the similarities between 12-step programs and that, I just come to know that I can't tell you where you need to go to get where you need to be. And nobody could tell me that either. And everything in my life has brought me to Jupiter, Florida today to talk to Kevin Lanning. And how can I be distraught about that? We're talking about sobriety. We're 2 sober guys. We're both fathers of daughters. Mm-hmm. We're both divorced. We both have a lot of life left.
Hey guys, quick update. Starting Monday, August 25th, I'm hosting a weekly open recovery meeting. It's for any addiction. Whether you're struggling with alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, you name it, everyone is welcome. If you want to get updates and the meeting link each week, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com to join the list. Again, that's kevin@riseabovepod.com. Put Rise Above Meeting in the subject, and I'll add you to the list. Lastly, so that we can continue to spread the message of hope, please drop us a like or subscribe. And on streaming platforms, if you could please leave us a rating, it helps us reach more people. Thank you so much.
We're both cool with the boyfriends?
Yeah.
The ex's boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's the program of sobriety, man. And I want to thank you again just for coming, because you kind of just made it very real for me now. 2 people who are sober together.
Yeah.
The gratitude. It's a beautiful day here in South Florida.
Oh man, it's amazing.
And life couldn't be any better.
I mean, think about this. So you're from New York?
From New York originally, yeah.
I'm from Mississippi. At some point in time, God, in my opinion, decided that Ken Hart and Kevin Lanning were going to meet on June the 17th of 2025 and sit across from each other and talk about being dads, talk about work, talk about being sober, talk about helping other people. That's a loving God, man. And we'll have a connection from now on.
Yeah.
We've got a common issue with alcohol. drugs in my case. I don't know if that's part of your
Oh,
story,
yeah.
but
Drugs and alcohol.
we've got that in common. And I love how the 12-step program is, one of the books says we're not people that would normally associate with one another, right? And but once we get in and commit to it and start working, it's the first real family that I've felt like I've ever had. Because my birth family, and I know we love each other, but man, it's just so hard. And there's huge gaps of time of no contact. And so I know I come from a loving family, but I guess I'm the black sheep or I'm the bad boy because I've decided to break some generational curses.
Mm.
And I accept what comes with that. Any ridicule, any questioning, any doubt on anyone else's parts, because I've done the work. Not only have I done the 12-step work, but I did a family of origin study at a place called PCS out in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the guy he got a trifold poster board, and he made me write down every person in my family I could remember. And I'm lucky enough to have memories of my great-grandparents. And he made me write them down, and then every single thing I remembered about them. And in the middle, he made me write myself and my ex-wife. And I didn't leave there that week having filled in, the truth about my ex and I.
Mm.
I did that a year later. But at the end of that week, I saw it all before me. The generational trauma. I saw it all before me. Everything from racism to fascism to religious abuse to addiction to multiple marriages to being a criminal. I just saw everything in front of me, and all I could do was cry. Because if a person gets to the point, I say this, when my pain started outweighing my fear of looking at myself, man, I started healing fast. And when you take the time to look at where you come from, and you have it all before you, and you've been honest about it, including yourself. And I have since put my ex-wife and I on there in a very honest manner. And even things that I know about my cousins and my second cousins. And at some point, somebody's got to try to stop, the perpetuation of some of these things that are just harmful.
Mm.
At the end of the day, they're just harmful. So I'm carrying that flag, if you will. And it's not been easy because there's, anytime somebody starts trying to do that, there's always pushback. There's always some that deny, things are the way they are. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me in Arizona.
Yeah.
Even my grandmother, who I had on a pedestal and still do, she was the glue that held our family together. But even with her and her behaviors that I saw and processed and remembered, they were codependent. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of the things that I've done over the last 11 and a half years in sobriety and will continue to do as long as I'm able, hopefully my daughters are seeing a lot of the changes and behavior, and we do have healthy conversations about things. I have a very open relationship with my kids, and I'm thankful for that. And then hopefully, they get married and have kids, and it starts reversing. Changing the legacy is what we're really doing.
Yeah, of course.
By getting sober. We're changing our legacy, but we're changing the legacy for our kids too.
So can we take a step back?
Yeah.
And you talked about like your parents and whatnot when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk us through childhood and elementary school? What was that like? What kind of kid were you? And then take us into when you first started using drugs and drinking.
I come from a really big family. And I have very sparse memories. I think a lot of kids with trauma, have big memory gaps, or a lot of people with trauma. But I remember around age 4, fear taking over my life. I had, I guess I was racing with my brothers or something, and I'd fallen and busted my chin. And I remember how angry my father got, and it terrified me. I wound up busting my chin 2 more times in the same spot. And once he was gone, he worked on the railroad at the time. Once he wasn't there, and I believe my grandfather had to take me to get stitches that time. But the next time, I fell off a bicycle and busted it, and the way he got angry terrified me. So I started operating, looking at it now, looking back at it, everything I did was out of fear. Don't upset anybody. Try not to do anything to piss anybody off. I was not good at that. I kept people pissed off a lot. But I have 2 brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we were in a Southern Baptist church every freaking time the doors were open. That was a horrible experience for me because it didn't. The behavior outside of that environment didn't match what I was hearing in that environment. I was molested in that environment as a young boy.
Are you allowed to elaborate on the story?
I'm not going to. I just don't know if that would serve anybody. But I've dealt with it specifically at PCS in Arizona. Dove into that really hard with those people and put that in its place, and have found some forgiveness for that person. But I was also molested in the neighborhood we lived in by women. The first one was by a male, but the next couple of times were by females. And the first time that I got drunk, I was 9 years old. It was the first time I ever tasted alcohol. And I had this friend, we were living in Atlanta area at that time. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. This little friend of mine, his father had you're probably old enough to at least have seen pictures, but the Pontiac Grand Prix with the mint green with this metallic, and the T-tops and the white pleather interior. He had one of those cars, and he would take us to a juke joint. It was called Rednecks. It was a pizza place and had a Playboy pinball machine in the corner. And he would go to the bar and drink beer, and he would get me and my little buddy 2 frozen steins of milk and a roll of quarters and throw us in the back playing the Playboy pinball machine. And that night when we got back to my friend's house and his dad went to bed, that's when I had my first drink. And obviously being a 9-year-old kid, it didn't take much, but I remember that release, that chemical release of, okay, this takes care of everything. And basically I chased that from age 9 to 42. And I was a good athlete, naturally gifted. I went to college on 2 athletic scholarships for a minute. Didn't stay at that very long. My older brother was a good athlete. My younger brother's a really good musician. And my mother is a great singer. My father was very successful in business, still is as far as I know. So we had plenty of material things. We had clothes, we had cars, we had home to live in. We never went without things, but zero emotional support, zero. It's probably the same in New York, but in Mississippi, it's. it's a hard place to be from. We were still having KKK marches in 1988 in the little town, my senior year of high school, they were still marching down the street. It was that kind of place, and you worked and you played football and baseball and you went to church, and anything outside of that, was really not supported. I started writing poetry and stuff when I was a little bitty kid, but I was afraid to let anybody see that, particularly in my house. I don't even think I kept my first song that I'd written until I was 24 and living in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
You didn't want anyone to see it?
6 hours away from my family, No, I didn't want anybody to, because it wasn't football, baseball, or work or church. But it's been in me a long time to write. And so we had material-wise, we had a great life. My dad worked all the time, and we had everything we needed. Sometimes I feel like he probably dangled that over our heads a little too much. He's a self-made, guy. He didn't come from much materially, so everything he has, he did. He's an entrepreneur, and like I said, he's been really successful at all of that. And so yeah, it was. We had everything we needed. I, for some reason, I'm the middle child, and I, for some reason, absorbed a lot of his physical outburst. I'm not really sure why I got zeroed out for that, but I seemed to take an exorbitant amount of physical beatings and physical punishment. Still don't really understand that. I've asked him about it a few times and not gotten an answer. So maybe we'll have time to hash that out still, because I'm open to it. I want to clear the air, best I can there. But really small town. I went to college at a junior college on athletic. Go ahead.
You said an athletic scholarship. Yeah. Okay. So what sports did you play?
Football and golf.
Oh, nice.
Were the two that I had scholarships in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And college football was absolutely no fun. It turned into work.
It's a full-time job.
Immediately. Mm-hmm. And I took that scholarship primarily because my dad played football at that school, and I was trying to get him to recognize that I had done something well, and to say, good job, proud of you.
Yeah.
That never came, but that's part of that dysfunction, that I've talked about, that I'm trying to break.
What school was it?
It was called, back then it was called Northwest Junior College. Now it's Northwest Mississippi Community College.
Got it.
Great. Well, I don't know if they're still great, but back then they had a great program and won some national championships and, that kind of thing. And the golf scholarship was college golf for those 2 years was nothing but fun because you didn't have to work out.
Yeah, of course.
And you could party and play golf. And that fit my demeanor at the time really well. And I was already playing guitar by then, and that certainly fit my disposition. More than football or baseball would have. But I had a big time doing it, and met a couple of guys through that I'm still friends with today. So it was a real blessing. And then I transferred to Mississippi State, and it was all downhill from there. It was just a matter of survival and getting to that degree and getting out of school and going to work. But I did my share of what we all do. Mm-hmm. I talk about some of the escapades in my drinking, but we're really all the same.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. And I've just gotten to a point to where I'm willing to still talk about, some of the dysfunction, but I'd rather talk about the blessings.
Yeah.
Post.
Well, were you ever arrested or anything? Did you ever get into any kind of trouble?
Yeah, I've been arrested 3 times that I can remember. Nothing major ever really came out of it because the part of the world where you're from, the attorneys and the state troopers are typically in the same hunting club, and you give them $1,500 and they split it and tell you not to show up for court. I don't know what it's like now in that area. I can tell you that Nashville is somewhere you do not want to get a DUI.
Yeah.
They're really strict about that in Nashville, and thank God it's not an issue for me anymore. But I drank a lot there and roared around a lot there, and I'm just blessed that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Could have happened to me any day there for a long time.
Yeah. When did you start using drugs?
13, 14.
What was it? Smoking weed?
Smoking weed and then pills. I mean, I was an opiate person, alcohol and opiates and
what kind of opiate pills were you doing?
Oxys, hydros.
Oh, wow.
Anything I get my hands on.
So you got sober in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were around for the whole Oxy wave, Oxycontin,
yeah, but man, I had
Percocet.
This is what's interesting. Some people, and you know this, some people go all out on everything.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Crown Royal was my thing.
Yeah.
And if I could have that, I typically didn't want anything else. And my opiate use was, it was more than sporadic, but it was not all of the time. But when it happened, it happened.
Yeah.
I had a family member pass away who had been on a pain management program, and the military duffel bag full of pain pills that I discovered after that, after she passed, that was a pretty long run because there was over 1,000 pills.
Yeah.
All from Dilaudids to morphine to hydros to oxys to you name it.
That would have lasted me a week.
Yeah, it didn't last very long. I can tell you that. But and then it was just a matter of convenience. I could get whiskey quicker than I could get pills. Particularly once I moved to Nashville. I knew where to get everything once I moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
Because Nashville has everything a person would want.
Yeah.
But the liquor store was closer than any of the other things to where I was living at the time. Yeah. And they kept it in the freezer for me at the liquor store.
So you graduate college. Mm-hmm. What do you do after college?
I went to work in the food business. I have a degree. I have a degree in poultry science, chicken business.
Interesting.
Could have been a chicken doctor, but I opted for sales. Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, it was entertaining clients and talking on the phone and playing a lot of golf and going to meetings and conventions and things like that. So I opted for a career in sales and worked for two of the larger companies at the time. And then I did my own thing for about 15 years. And that imploded along with my marriage. And so I went back into the corporate world for 4 years, I think. And then since 2021, I've been back out on my own. And I keep a presence in that industry because it's good money. I have great relationships there that I've built for over 30 years. And it doesn't require a lot of time. The way that I'm operating right now, it doesn't require a lot of time.
Yeah.
I would love to have a lot more business, but that business, like every other business, the last 5 years has struggled. And there's been a lot of consolidation, and you're from the corporate world, so you know what consolidation does to consultants, brokers, those of us that do everything we can to stay out of a cubicle.
Right.
It makes those opportunities slimmer and harder to find. But man, God's blessed me recently. I've picked up some new business, and I'm excited about that. And I'm always thinking of ways to further that career because I don't want to let that go.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, being a songwriter doesn't pay anymore. So I've got daughters that I'm real serious about taking care of. And so I put a lot of time into that. I'm excited about the life coaching thing and seeing where that goes and how that shapes up. So, but yeah, did the corporate thing. Never really liked it. I'm Ken. I'm an alcoholic. Too many rules, too much structure, too much requirement of time for a little reward.
Yeah, us alcoholics don't like that.
No, we're undisciplined at best, right?
Unorthodox, but we get it done somehow, some way.
Yeah, and typically we have really good looking yards.
So, can you got sober 11 and a half years ago? Can you take us through the final few months of your drinking, and then how you eventually got sober?
The final few months was basically a half a gallon of Fireball a day, straight out of the freezer. There was a lot going on in my marriage at the time. I was a lunatic. Just going to be real honest with you. I was an absolute lunatic those last few months. And without her sitting here, I don't really want to get too much into what actually transpired. I don't think it would be fair to have that discussion without my ex-wife being here, and she certainly deserves, to have a part in that conversation. But things just imploded, and that was my bottom. It was the night of our anniversary that year. And we'd gone to dinner, and I drank way too much. And for some reason, when I came to the next morning, I just knew that would it. I'll back up to that summer. I went to West Africa just on a whim with a group of people that they owned an orphanage over there, some people out of Nashville.
No wife?
No, I was still married.
No. No wife on the trip?
No, just me.
Okay.
And a group of strangers. I didn't know any of them. And we were gone for 12 days maybe. It was this time of year. And it was just physical labor every day and interacting with the locals. And of course we had a private compound where we stayed and security and all that stuff. But the conversations I had with the locals at night, just sitting around, West Africa, Sierra Leone, Freetown, Ballia, between Sierra Leone and Liberia, between the borders of those two countries, we were about halfway in between, in the jungle. No roads, no electricity. It was just nothing but stars at night and sunshine during the day. But the conversations I had with them, about the second night, I started hearing this voice when I would go climb into my mosquito net and try to go to sleep. And this voice just kept saying, things are really going to change for you when you get home. And every night, that's what it said. And the day we got back, we went to dinner, and I remember not being able to eat the food because I had just, been in this situation where they do so much with so little. And then being an alcoholic, I declined to go to I called them decompression classes that they recommend for good reason. I was not going to do that. So we went to dinner, and I just remember not being able to eat. And then I got drunk. I was at the end of June, and I stayed drunk until November of that year. And we had gone to dinner that night, and things transpired, and I woke up the next day, and I just knew that was it. I think I went to a meeting or two, and I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. They're talking about this God higher power business, but they're not talking about Jesus. I can't do this, Oh, how could they do this? And I had a guy just start working the steps with me. He was 3 years sober at the time. And about 6 months into that, he relapsed. Well, then I really freaked out because, okay, wait a minute. He had 3 years. He's helping me. We're on step 3 by now. And I just got a phone call that he's in jail 4 hours away from home. What happened? What do I do now? And that's when I surrendered to the meetings. And for all of you listening, Nashville is a great place to party. It's a phenomenal place to party, but it's an even better place to be sober. The sober community in Nashville, Tennessee is unbelievably amazing. And that's why I know that God put me there to get sober, is because 24/7 you can find a meeting. It's fantastic. And so I knew. And after that guy relapsed, I went to meetings and got a sponsor. I did some intensive therapy through a place called Branches Counseling Center. I did an intensive through Cumberland Heights, which is a big treatment center up there. Never did any inpatient stuff, but these intensive weeks are my speed. I love them. I'd do one every month if I could get away with it. They're that good for me spiritually and physically and mentally. So yeah, man, just dove in head first and got into those steps. Tried 2 sponsors. They didn't really work for me. And then I had been eyeballing this guy at my home. It's my home group now. It's been my home group forever, but I'd been watching him and listening to him and finally got up the courage to ask him. And he'd been sizing me up too, for a couple of weeks. And he said, man, here's the deal. Call me every day. We'll start with that. And, if you manage to do good with that, then we'll start getting into those steps. And he's been, still to this day, he's the perfect sponsor for me. I have a lot of respect for him. We've developed a great friendship, outside of the sponsor-sponsee relationship. He's full of grace, full of love. And I tell you something else. My home group is a by-the-book home group. I was watching one of your episodes and somebody was talking about how meetings can be therapy for some people and how frustrating that can get. And I started laughing out loud when I heard the guy say that, because I know what he's talking about, and we're all alcoholics. So it doesn't surprise me when a meeting gets a little bit out of line, but I've been so blessed in that group and in that recovery world up there, because it's by the book. So that's the way I learned it, and that's the way I sponsor. And I've had some sponsees that didn't make it. I had one that relapsed and passed away. Thankfully, I was surrounded by people that could coach me through that too. And I haven't relapsed, and yet is the optimal word there. I haven't relapsed yet.
What were some other tools that you implemented in the beginning of your recovery? For example, did you have, you had your sponsor. Did you also have a sober community? Did you still hang out with old friends? Did you make new friends who were sober?
I had some sober friends I hung out with. It's interesting that you asked me that, because it's the first time anybody's ever asked me. And I'm sitting here going, man, there may have been a handful of people that disappeared, but dude, for the most part, my core group of friends, they just never went anywhere. And they supported me the whole way, and they still support me today. And it's interesting that you asked that, because they're still there. I've made a lot of new friends, obviously. Being sober has opened me up to, let me back up. I'm speaking for me, but when I was molested by the male, I didn't trust men. And so here I am at 42 years old. In our groups, men work with men and women work with women on the sponsor-sponsee relationship. And so here I am having to trust a man for the first time to really do step 4 and step 5 and unload. That was a big breakthrough for me, because now I have 3 guys that are accountability partners, and we talk to each other every single day. Maybe it's for 30 seconds, maybe it's for 30 minutes, but there's 3 guys that I hear from every day. Yeah. And that's made a huge difference in my life. And there's probably two sober people, people that I met in the program that I spend time with, outside. But for the most part, I'm still running with the same core group of people. Maybe been 5 people that kind of slipped away. But oddly enough, I've reconnected with one of that 5 because he's sober now. Mm. And these miracles just keep happening, man.
You talked before about you helping some people that you are coaching unpack some things. So, for example, they're not bringing it home to their wives and their families. What are some of the things that you did in sobriety to unpack? Was it inventory? Did you do step work to kind of unpack some of the early childhood trauma or just even your day-to-day so you're not bringing it at home to your kids?
So we get to do step 1 every day, thankfully, or I do. I don't know how everybody else does it, but I get to do that every day, and I'm excited about that. And I have developed a discipline of when anything new comes up, a new resentment, I'm angry about something again, the 4-column, step 4 work. I've gotten really disciplined about doing that and then calling my sponsor or calling somebody else in the program and unloading that. But initially, I unloaded some of that with my sponsor. I unloaded it with my counselor at Branches Counseling Center, which is in a suburb of Nashville. I unloaded a hell of a lot of it at PCS in Scottsdale. The personal trauma, the molesting, the abuse at home, all of the things, the dysfunction of gaslighting, racism, fashion, everything unwound at PCS. And I left a lot of stuff there. Physically went out into the desert, up into the Superstition Mountains, and threw these rocks off of a ledge and just buried all of that stuff out there. And it was gone. It's just gone. As far as I had 2 guys that I would call outside of the program and in my own effort to try to grow out of dumping everything on my then ex-wife. But that was just, I call it surface level stuff. That was just workday stuff, things that went wrong during the day, things I screwed up during the day, things I didn't know what to do in the situation I was in. So that's what I did. Look, man, you know this because you're some years in now. Picking up that phone and talking to somebody is magic. Walking into a meeting room is magic. Asking for help. I heard a guy say it one time in a meeting. Asking for help is the most spiritual thing I can do. And I was reading in the one of the books this morning on the flight down, this humility thing. If I operate out of humility today, all throughout the day, I'm going to have a pretty good day because it keeps me, in this book of mine that I wrote, I talk about maintaining the posture of a student and not the professor. I don't ever want to get in a position to where I think I know it all, because I'm really dangerous in that scenario. So yeah, man, I talk people's ears off these days, and they talk mine off too, and it helps us all.
You talked about like asking for help. I'm going to play devil's advocate for the listener who is maybe in it right now, not yet sober and clean. And I can relate to this. Mm-hmm. It's not easy asking for help. No. Our pride won't allow us to ask for help because we don't think that anyone will be able to understand what we're going through. What is your feeling on that? And did you go through that?
I totally agree with you. And yes, I went through it. And quite frankly, I still go through it on some things. And one particular accountability partner, if I happen to go a couple of days without talking to him, the next time I do, he'll go, "All right, dude, what are you doing you don't want me to know about?" What do you need help with that you're not talking to me about? So I still battle that, right? It's in us. It's hardwired in us to want to handle things on our own. And for the person out there that, step 4 terrified me the first time. I got to tell this to a stranger. If I'm going to work with him, then this is part of that, doing that. And I'd gotten in my head that whole morning about, oh man, he's never going to talk to me again. When he sees this guy's he's probably going to tell me never to come back to AA. And when it was over, he just smiled and he said, man, you did a great job. Now go over there and put it in the fireplace and burn it. And I went, what? He said, yeah, go over there. That's done. And he said, we'll get to work on the next one. Because step 4 has become a discipline, right? And I do the steps every time I take on somebody new. I work the steps with them just to show them that it can be done. And it is still a monster sometimes. Yeah. Because I had this pastor one time tell me, dude, everything you're telling me you've been forgiven for, go sin some new sins. Go screw up, go do something different. This is all done. You're the one dragging this around. God's not dragging this around. And it's that same way for me in sobriety.
I'm going through my 4th step again right now.
Yeah.
I got a new sponsor about a couple months ago. So we're going through the steps again and re-going through my 4th step for a 3rd time. And there's a lot of shit that crops up.
Yeah. Did you find, or are you finding, I know I did. So like the first 2 or 3 really genuine step 4 attempts, there were a lot of other names involved. Mm-hmm. But the 5th time I did it, there were less names and more me. Mm-hmm. The 6th time. Now when I do it, it's all me. Right?
Yeah. Because we're more aware. Mm-hmm. We're more aware of our character defects, our flaws, where we're being controlling, where we are trying to manipulate, where we're, the whole gauntlet,
Yeah.
So, what are some of the promises that came true once you got sober over the last 11 and a half years?
Ooh, the promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. My daughters, my relationship with my daughters is probably the biggest. Right after the divorce, my oldest took off for college. And I didn't see her for a really long time. Didn't hear from her, didn't see her, didn't chase her. And having the wherewithal not to chase her, thanks to my sponsor and my mentors, she eventually came back around, and my relationship with her is great today. I think my middle daughter had the hardest time with everything because big sister took off to college, and then there she was. There's 7 years age difference between my middle and my youngest, so she probably felt a little bit abandoned. She hasn't told me that, but I'm just guessing that's a lot of that was going on. So she closed up really tight for a while, but she has absolutely come out of that now, and our relationship is really good. And my youngest daughter's, she's just a rock star, man. I can't ever remember her not being around. And I don't know if it's a promise, but it's certainly a miracle that their mother and I can sit across the table from each other today and laugh and have a cordial conversation. And mentioned boyfriends earlier. She's dating a really good guy, and he's really supportive. And I like him a lot. And to be able to encounter him and them together and not have any angst whatsoever about it, nothing but gratitude. You mentioned it earlier. I mean, if they're kind to our kids, what more could we want?
Yeah.
And my girls feel safe around him, and they like him, and that's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. Career-wise, my relationships have gotten better. The output of my creative side of my life with writing songs and everything has gotten better. I'll say this about work and the way things have improved. There were some things that have happened since I've gotten sober in my professional life that were not favorable to me, financially or professionally. But I was able to, I think the book calls it Meeting Calamity with Serenity. I did not self-destruct in those moments. I didn't like it. It still upset me. It still hurt me. But man, I was just able to keep getting up in the morning and keep moving and keep moving and keep moving. That's probably the single biggest thing sobriety's given me is the willingness to get up every day and get out of my house and not sit there all day long, because I like to isolate. That's one of my defaults when things get hairy is to retreat. I've got this neat little house back in the woods and I can go there and nobody bothers me. But man, about 2 days of that, and this thing up here takes over, and it can get really weird.
Yeah.
And I don't let that happen much anymore. Even if I don't have anything going on, the music business happens on Music Row. It's these 2 streets in Nashville where all the publishing companies are and the labels, and all the songwriters gather there every day to work. And even if I don't have anything going on, I'll get up and go down there and talk to people and visit with people. I love to walk around downtown Nashville and visit with the homeless people and anybody that'll talk to me. So I don't sit around anymore, and that's a miracle. Yeah. I don't want to sit around anymore. That's an even bigger miracle. So
you sponsor 3 guys, you said, right?
I got 2 other ones now, and then I have 2 new life coaching clients.
Okay. So what has giving back done for you and helping others?
Keeps me sober. Keeps me at step 1.
Humility.
Because that's where we start. Absolutely humility. I mean, look, I can still get up and operate on my own faculties. And I do some days, but it doesn't take long for me to realize that I've done that, because I get tense and I get irritated, and I can stop and restart my day. That's another promise and miracle of the program. I can restart that. But man, the days when I get up and pray and meditate and journal, that automatically puts me in a position of being humble. And the day just goes so much better.
Yeah.
And the more I help the newcomer, the more that grows inside of me. Because I was just like them, scared to death to walk into that room. Nobody wants to surrender. It has such a negative connotation, around it. But today, for me, and a lot of other people I know in the program, it's the only way to grow is to be fully surrendered to the process. And that's the biggest thing I get from sponsoring other people, until the light comes on. And when you see the light come on in their minds, you see their spirit change, you see their demeanor change. The conversations go from negative to more positive, from resistance to willingness. Dude, there ain't nothing like it, man. Because if they stay long enough to get that, they got a pretty good chance.
Yeah. You want to tell us about your book?
Oh, man. I do want to tell you about this book. This book is called Jesus is Cool, but Christians Creep Me Out.
Jesus is cool, but Christians creep me out.
Christians creep me out. I first heard that saying in 2009. I went to this church with a friend of mine. I hadn't been in a church in probably over 10 years. And I was drunk and thought, well, I need to go to church tomorrow. So I texted a friend of mine at midnight on a Saturday night, and he came right back and he told me where to meet him. And mind you, my memories of church in Mississippi were this rigid building and smelling of cleaning agents and the men wearing suits and ties and the ladies wearing dresses. Well, this particular church met in a movie theater in Franklin, Tennessee. There were bouncy houses and kids were playing and people were smiling and they were hugging each other. And I thought, well, this is going to be fun. I don't even know what this is. And then they had a big band with a couple of famous musicians in it who were not on the road that weekend. And I just remember in my mind going, golly, this is so weird. This is not church. These people have lost their, what am I doing here? And I remember one moment trying to get up and leave and my legs would not move. And out came this pastor and he started talking about God's love and that there are no good Christians, that you're either Christian or you're not, but there's no good Christian, right? We're not capable of being good enough for God's love. And he went on to say some other things, but that particular saying, Jesus is cool, but Christians creep me out. He had recently written a book and been on the Today Show up in New York debating a guy named Sam Harris, who is this world-renowned atheist. And in the elevator on the way down at 30 Rock, Sam looked at him and said, David, you know, man, Jesus is cool, but you Christians, y'all just really creep me out. I thought Dave would surely write the book because he was in that mode, you know, at the time, but he had a heart attack and passed away. So I tracked down his widow and I said, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'd like to write that title and I just need your blessing. And so she did. The first 5 or 6 drafts of this book are awful because it was me, all the vengefulness and resentment I had towards organized religion was coming out in those drafts. All the pain of being molested, it just came out and they were terrible. It took me 10 years to get to this version of this book. And I'm glad I did not publish any of the others and I hope nobody ever, I've deleted them as far as I know how to delete them on computer, you know, in the computer world. I hope nobody ever sees them. But the point is, main point of the book is that organized religion and a faith-based relationship with Jesus are not the same things. And if you've studied the Bible at all, if a person has studied it like I have, I don't find the 30,000 denominations of Christianity in there. Baptist, Catholic, Presbyterian, they're not in there. The only organized religion mentioned in Scripture, to my knowledge, is the Jewish temple. And if you study the life of Christ, he spent all of his time pushing back against the rules that the Jewish leaders were passing down and putting on people. It was impossible for them to live by. And that's the gist of the whole book. It's trying to just get people to read it for themselves. Study, if you're interested in it, study the Bible for yourself and maybe just pray a little bit before you start, which is what I did. This same pastor that gave me this title, he just screamed at me one day in a Starbucks, read the damn book for yourself. Stop believing everybody else and take it in for yourself and then make your decision. And that's what this is. It's my journey. I tell my whole story in the front of it. Everything about me is in the beginning of the book. And I got that idea from the movie 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. That very last, rap battle that Eminem goes into. Mm-hmm. He gets up there and tells all of the junk about himself and then goes, now tell them something they don't know about me. That's where the idea came from, to just from page 1,
put it all out there.
Every single piece of junk about me is in there. And then from there, it's my journey to wind up where I am today. And that's, if I had to label myself, I would say I was a biblical Christian. I'm not very active in church, organized church at all. There is a church I like to go to some Sundays, but quite frankly, I have an AA meeting at my house every Sunday.
That's great.
And it started in 2020 when we got kicked out of our rooms. Us being alcoholic rebels, we're like, well, we're not going to stop meeting, so we'll just come to my house.
Yeah.
And so we meet there, and some days it's a hybrid AA Bible study because people are curious about that part of my life. Another reason I wanted to get this book out is done, and I don't know what your experience has been in meetings, but in Tennessee, in the meetings I go to, I'd probably say that 8 out of 10 newcomers that come in, once they start sharing, they talk about trauma that they've endured in some church somewhere. And that's a pattern that's got to be addressed. Church is supposed to be a place for healing.
Safe space.
And loving and nurturing and growing. But I'm not going to say that it's not, because I'm sure that it is in places, and I'm not involved in it enough really to speak on it anymore. But I can just tell you that what I've learned through the scriptures, what I've learned through 12-step work, the people that wrote the 12-step program were New Testament believers. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob were part of a group called the Oxford Group at the time. And the way they put that program together is just so brilliant, because it's like Jesus to me. It's all inclusive. It doesn't matter what status you are in life, where you're from, doesn't matter. Look, we got yard work on.
Yeah.
It's all right. At the end of the day, and I love how they wrote in the program, if you don't believe in a higher power, just pick something. Anything you can focus on to stop doing that. Because alcohol is called spirits for a reason, because it alters, the way our brain fires. And so as long as I'm putting the poison in, I'm blocking the light of the spirit. So I don't care if I had one sponsee that used a rock for 3 months before he finally went, okay, I'm ready to explore who God is for me. And I'm like, use the rock, man. Well, anything to keep you from putting the alcohol down your throat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because God doesn't need me to save anybody, man. He needs me to live a life in pursuit of him and a life of sobriety. That's why attraction rather than promotion is, man, what a brilliant concept. I talk about that in the book a lot. Attraction rather than promotion. If I'm living a God-centered life from a position of humility, people are going to see that. And if the right person sees it, they're going to come ask me, hey, man, what's different about you? I don't have to say a word. I just have to live my life. And when God orchestrates that encounter, some of those conversations are still happening today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, Ken, I want to thank you.
Yeah, man.
I want to thank you for coming out, for taking the trip, sharing your experience, and even staying sober. So people like myself were able to come in and find sobriety, and there was a door open for everyone who came in after you. So thank you again, and thank you for coming on.
Well, and thank you for doing this. What a blessing.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
What a blessing. You bet.